If you're a CEO or an executive leading your organization through a digital transformation or any change initiative for that matter, there are 5 things you need to know in order to be successful in your transformation, and I'll talk about what those things are here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting Group. We're an independent and tech-agnostic consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. One of the things that I commonly do in my role, in addition to running the company, is I advise executives on how to be successful in their transformations. And we find that there's 5 common things that executives don't typically know when they go into a transformation, but these 5 things are critical in order to be successful. Now, in addition to watching today's video, I encourage you to download our executive guide to digital transformation. This is a high-level summary written for executives and created for executives like you. So if you'd like to learn more best practices and tips on how to lead change within your organization and how to lead your digital transformation successfully from a non-technical perspective, I encourage you to download that guide. You can find that by scanning the QR code right here or go to the links below. When executives are leading a digital transformation, one of the common mistakes they make is that they assume that technology will provide all the answers for them and how they're going to run their business. They assume that if they defer to what software vendors might call best practices, that will inform their business processes, that will inform their operations, and that will determine how their operations are going to look in the future. However, this is a big mistake, and this is something that you absolutely need to avoid, because if you don't have a clear vision of what you want your organization to look like in the future, then you're not going to be successful in the implementation, and you're going to have a lot of problems making decisions in a timely fashion, and you're going to have a lot of trouble managing your vendors, your system integrator, your software vendors, etc. So in order to be successful, it's very important that you take the time up front before you start the technical implementation. You need to take that time up front to identify, first of all, what your strategic goals and objectives are, what you want to get out of this project, but even more importantly, define what you want your operating model to look like. So all the messy decisions that you need to make and the messy organizational nuances you need to work through around how much you're going to standardize processes or how much you're going to integrate operations between different locations, things of that nature need to be determined first, because if you don't have those decisions made, it's going to slow down your project. It's going to cause you to burn a lot of cash and a lot of expense during the implementation. In addition, you don't want the vendor or the system integrator making those decisions for you. You need to be managing them to tell them how you want the technology to be deployed. Especially in today's day and age of relatively flexible enterprise technologies, you need to know what that roadmap is and what your operating model is so that you can use that to guide the overall project. Another important fact to be aware of if you're an executive leading a transformation is that you need to get your house in order before you start the transformation. If you're working through a reorg or process improvements, or if you have internal turmoil and chaos, it's important that you work through those issues first and stabilize your operations in your organization before you try to implement new technology. Oftentimes organizations will try to force fit in a new technology at the same time they're going through massive reorgs, or at the same time they have a whole new executive team in place, at the same time they're doing a merger or an acquisition. Now, this is a lot easier said than done, because your business will continue to evolve and change, and there will be some turmoil along the way. But it's important to recognize that if you have massive amounts of turmoil and change happening all at once, that's just going to put your digital transformation at risk, and it's going to be more likely that you're going to have delays or cost overruns as a result. Another thing to keep in mind as an executive leading a digital transformation is that less technology is okay. You don't need to be on the latest and greatest, newest, shiniest, sexiest technology that's out there. You can certainly work towards that, aspire to that longer term as part of your roadmap, but you don't need to necessarily bite off that entire technological stack all at once. Now, this goes for not only the type of technology you deploy, and you think about something like AI, using the most sophisticated, newest AI capabilities. That's something that's good to know. It might be something you work towards, but you're probably not going to deploy that on day one of a massive digital transformation. In addition to that, you don't need to buy every single module, every single advanced function that a software vendor can provide. You can always ease into that and bite off more of that later as the project continues or as time goes by. But despite software vendor pressures to sell you more, you don't necessarily need to acquire and deploy all these different technologies all at once. So doing less with technology and doing more with your business and your organization is typically going to be a lot more successful than trying to depend too much on technology and getting mired in all the technological complexities of a digital transformation. As a leader guiding an organization through a digital transformation, it can be very appealing to outsource the project to other third parties. After all, software vendors, consultants like us, we're the experts, right? We know how to do these digital transformations. You know your business, you're busy doing other stuff. So it's very appealing and understood why leaders might want to outsource a digital transformation to the experts. However, there's only so much that you can do. That's only going to get you so far. You need your internal organization to not only make decisions around what their organization is going to look like in the future, but also just to own the project and take accountability for it and to build those competencies in-house. If you don't, you're going to run into a twofold problem. One is the outside consultants and vendors will make decisions for you and how you're going to run your business, regardless of whether or not it's the right answer for you. And second of all, you're going to lose control of those vendors. You're going to have too much of a learned helplessness and dependency on those third parties, whereas if you build that competency in-house, you're going to be able to manage them a lot better and be more of an equal partner with them rather than someone who just has to defer to the outside experts along the way. Regardless of what you might think, managing a digital transformation involves changes that are going to be more difficult than you think. Yes, your team might be excited at this moment in time. They might be excited that there's a new technology on the horizon. Finally, we get to get rid of those old processes, those manual processes. We'll finally have integrated data sets. We'll have more modern technology that's easier to use. All that stuff is good stuff, and it will create excitement for a time, but that excitement will quickly wear off as soon as the organizational changes start to take hold. And this is more than just training people on how to use a technology. This is training people on entirely new business processes. In some cases, you're going to be massively overhauling their job descriptions. And in many cases, you're going to be threatening their perceived value to the organization. Because despite the fact that you've had broken systems for so long, these people, these employees, have found a way to power through with heroics and tribal knowledge to make your organization successful. So there are a whole host of reasons why people resist change. Even the most well-intended people are going to resist change along the way. So it's important to recognize that change will be harder than you think, and I have yet to meet an executive who disagrees and says that the change was actually easier than they thought it would be after the fact. So I hope this has provided you some guidance and some lessons from other executives we've worked with on what it takes and what's required to know when going through a digital transformation. If you'd like to learn more tips and best practices from an executive perspective, I encourage you to read our Executive's Guide to Digital Transformations. You can find that for free right here by scanning this QR code, or you can go to the links below. And as always, if you'd like to discuss your plans and your strategy for your digital transformation, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to be an informal sounding board for you. I'd be happy to discuss with you how ThirdStage can help you through your journey. You can reach out to me. I've included my contact information below. So if you found this information useful, I hope you have a great day. ThirdStage Consulting. Wow, okay. Try that again. Is she in the shot?
Yeah.
Ellie.
Okay. She's all right.
Okay.